chosen by random draw. Grab the ball, throw the ball. Get the ball over the opposing team's line any way you can, and your team gets a point. Weapons, name calling, and cheating are all encouraged. Let's play Hutball!
The 2024 Paris Olympics just began, and they are off to a great start. Or so I assume. I'm writing this before then. But what if they were held on Naboo or Chandrila instead? Maybe even Coruscant? What kind of games would they have then? There are surprisingly not that many sports in Star Wars, but today we will look at 5 that I think could be in the Olympics. I'm Joey from Radio Free Coruscant, and these are the Star Wars Olympic Games.
Frog Dog team history. Really, really terrible. Ouch! That was one dumb frog dog. Score 1 for the Rotworms. Time's almost up. Somebody kill someone.
Hutball. The first sport on our list is Hutball, a dangerous team sport popular on Nar Shaddaa. It was popular during the Old Republic era, but still had players even into the Galactic Civil War. The game has not been described in great detail, but it involved 2 randomly selected teams equipped with clubs trying to gain possession of a ball and bring it to the opposing team's camp, like in many Earth sports. Violence and cheating were encouraged in Hutball, which is unsurprising considering its Hutt audience. While I'm not sure the Galactic Olympics Committee would allow a sport where such behavior is so common, you could also argue that figuring out how to cheat at the game is a type of skill in and of itself, and is part of what makes Hutball stand out among the other sports in the galaxy. Nuna Ball. Next up is Nuna Ball. This was an unusual ball game played exclusively by droids. Instead of a traditional ball, they used a small animal called a Nuna. When angered, a Nuna would inflate itself like a pufferfish, at which point it would be carried to the goal at the opposite end of the field. Like Hutball, it could be a very violent sport, with droids ripping each other's heads off and smashing each other into pieces, though fortunately the Nuna used as the ball was not in particularly great danger. Nuna Ball was originally invented by Gungans on Naboo. After the invasion of Naboo, droid manufacturers took a liking to the game and began using it as a stress test for new droid models. It was broadcast in droid enthusiast circles for a while before catching on galaxy-wide and becoming one of the most popular and profitable sports in existence. I do have a hard time believing that the GOC would add a sport that abuses a live animal into the Olympics, but perhaps an artificial Nuna could be invented to remove that concern. Limi. A less problematic possibility is Limi, known in some regions as Bolo-Ball. This was, like many sports, a team-based ball game. Look, there aren't a lot of options to choose from. For whatever reason, the ball games are the only ones with more than a sentence of description. Limi was essentially the Star Wars version of soccer. In fact, its Mandalorian name, Meshgaroya, translates to the beautiful game, which is an old nickname for soccer. Its popularity with Mandalorians, and clone commandos apparently, is why I thought it would be a good choice for this list. They were not the only fans of Limi, though. The planet Fwilsving had extremely enthusiastic fans of the sport. So enthusiastic, in fact, that when their team defeated the team from Kubindi in 22 BBY, the ensuing celebrations destroyed the city that the match was played in. It was also popular on Alderaan, and when the planet was destroyed, the Galactic Cup of Limi was put on hiatus. It may not be the most interesting and unique sport, but I think it is high time it received a revival, and inclusion in the next Olympic Games could be just the boost it needs. Grav-Ball. Next is Grav-Ball, also known as Zone Ball or lacrosse. It originated on the planet Nubia and was played in small indoor three-dimensional courts. Teams of 6 players wearing hover boots attempted to use a repulsor baton to get a ball into goals. The players would have to push off the ground, walls, ceiling, or each other to move around as the hover boots contained no propulsion. There was also another version of the game that was played two-dimensionally with no hover boots. This was played on a field similar to an American football field, though quite a bit smaller. This version had 10 players per team, a center striker who began each play and had the choice of running with the ball or passing it to someone else, 2 additional strikers to run out and catch passes, wing attackers, a kicker who typically waited on the sidelines until a play that required kicking happened, a fullback who flanked the center striker and was flanked by the additional strikers, 2 defenders, and a keeper. Hang on a minute, that just sounds like football. I'm not sure why canon deviated so far from what was described in Legends instead of just coming up with a new sport entirely, but I guess it's no different than, well, American football versus the rest of the world's football. Regardless, either version of the sport would be well suited for the Star Wars Olympic Games. If they only added one, I'd rather see the first version with the players floating around. Let me know which one you'd prefer in the comments. Teras Casi. Our final sport, and the only non-ball sport, is Teras Casi, which translates to steel hand in Basic. This was a mystical and ancient form of martial arts known for its incredible speed, strength, and acrobatics. It is perhaps the closest one can get to being a Jedi without having the ability to use the Force. Unfortunately for the Olympics, it was extraordinarily deadly, with skilled Teras Casi practitioners being able to shatter armor and deliver blows more powerful than even blaster bolts. However, Teras Casi artists could also enter trances to stop bleeding and even heal wounds, so although a Teras Casi user could defeat a Jedi or a squad of stormtroopers with ease, 2 Teras Casi users fighting each other, in a competitive setting rather than a combat one, could surely turn it from a lethal fighting style to a truly thrilling sport. Several big names in galactic history practiced Teras Casi, which could bring it to the attention of the Galactic Olympics Committee and get it included in the games. Most notably, Sith apprentice Darth Maul and Jedi Plo Koon were both skilled Teras Casiers. Maul also taught Crime Lord Dryden Voss, who in turn trained his lieutenant Kira. The Emperor's Royal Guards and later the First Order's Praetorian Guards were also trained in numerous martial arts, including Teras Casi. It would be the perfect fighting event to add to the Star Wars Olympics. And those are the 5 sports I would have in the Star Wars Olympics. Or at least, the 5 sports with the most detailed descriptions on Wikipedia. Z-Slam and Logarithm Stride sound fascinating, but there ain't exactly a lot to say about them. So which of these would you be the most excited for? I'd go for Grav-Ball personally, the original flavor with the hover boots and 3D arena, but Teras Casi would be impressive as well. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, I will see you next week. RFC, out.